Hey everybody, HK Sniper here. So one of the most common questions you're going to receive as a reenactor online, any sort of online presence, is going to be, how do I get into reenacting? How do I get involved in the hobby? So this video is going to be in particular World War II reenacting in the United States. I'm going to throw some quick points out there. I hope that with these points you can kind of gather them up, put them in the toolbox, and they can be useful for you if you are brand new to the hobby, don't even know where to start. Hopefully this kind of gets the ball rolling and gets you pointed in the right direction. Anyway, as said, this is involving World War II reenacting in the United States. It may be different elsewhere. It is what it is. So the first thing you want to do before you do anything else at all, you need to pick a side. And I recommend picking a side that is common, as in German, US, or Soviet. Picking some of the other sides, you're going to start running into obscurity. Events don't have kind of the venue for you, they don't have battles for you, stuff like that. So pick something that's common. And the reason is you're getting ready to spend a lot of money. And if you pick something where you're only using it for one time a year, that kind of sucks. Because you're spending a ton of money. And we're going to get into the money issue here in a minute. Pick like those sides I mentioned. It's going to help you out. It gets your foot in the door. You can get started. And then you can work on other impressions later. Which is another point I want to bring up. Don't go diving in deep right off the gate. Don't sit there and be like, oh, I want to do German, I want to do US, I'd like to do Commonwealth, so I'm going to start buying. Don't do that. Get one impression rocking and rolling. You can work on other impressions down the road. Like I said, you're getting ready to spend a lot of money and time, one step at a time. So once you've picked the side, you need to pick out what you want to do. What role do you want to do? Certain roles are going to be universal, as in medic, infantryman, stuff like that. But let's say you want to do combat engineer. Certain other specialty roles, such as vehicles, stuff like that. If you're going to be doing that, you're going to have to eventually look for a very specialized unit to get involved with that. Which means you're going to have to do a little extra homework. But the basic impressions, infantrymen, stuff like that, they're pretty universal. So once you've picked your side, you've picked a role you'd like to do, now it's time to scout out for a unit. And you need to scout out units. One of the most important things to do, in my opinion, is to go out to an event. Yes, there is a social media presence with a lot of reenacting units. Maybe your favorite YouTubers involved with the unit. Thing is, you might not like that unit. You might get a false sense of how they are online. The old-fashioned way of hitting an event, meeting these people face to face, is going to take you a much longer way. You get face to face with them, you interact with them, you get to see how their camp is, you get to see how their impressions are. You get to see how they behave during battles. All that stuff, you get to witness it, talk to these people, and exchange information, and go from there. And it's just going to work out a lot better doing it that way, rather than just completely relying on online discussions, emails, Facebook, whatever. Talk to these people in person. Now, the cost. When I started reenacting in 2009, you could get away with a very decent German impression for about $1,000. Nowadays, you're pushing $2,000, maybe a little more. So be prepared for the cost. But don't let the cost kind of turn you away from the whole thing. Units have loaner gear for the most part, not everybody, but units, they do have loaner gear, maybe a loaner rifle. If you can at least start getting things rolling, getting started, they can help you out there. If you gotta buy the tunic here, the next month the boots, 2 months later buy the rifle, piecing it together. If you have to do the piecing together, everybody understands. We're all in the same boat with the financial stuff. A lot of people started that way. I did. I bought half of an impression in 2009, borrowed some gear, bought the other half, kept borrowing a rifle, and then got my rifle. It took about roughly a year to get myself, even in 2009, fully kitted out. So if you have to piece it together, that's fine. Most units, I'm going to say almost all units are going to understand. They're going to be cool with it. They'll work with you step by step. So if you have to do it that way, not a problem. So the other thing is going to be on that topic, where do I buy this stuff? At the Front's a good place. Heston Antiques got some good stuff here and there. So one of the biggest things I can say about that is certain units are going to be very specific about where they want you to buy stuff. Talk to them. And I don't want to, like, oh, I'm just putting it on the unit and blah, blah, blah. You're not really answering the question. Well, I'd like to. But if I could tell you every single website to buy, every single little thing for each side, this video is going to be forever. Certain units might like certain things from certain vendors. You got to understand that. And certain vendors only sell specific stuff. Talk to your unit. Once you get set in, they will guide you in the right direction, trust me. If they don't, you don't need to be involved with them. They're not worth your time. They got to be willing to help you out. So, one of the topics I would also like to throw out there is useful skills. If you can sew, you're good at public speaking, you're good at making crates, working with tools, stuff like that, it's very beneficial. Sewing, you'll be able to work on your own uniform. Also, it goes a long way for your impression. You can do repairs. You can repair other people's stuff. That really adds to the camp life if you're sewing things in camp, making things, setting stuff up, cooking even. Goes a long, long way. Really improves upon yourself as a reenactor. And going upon that, useful behaviors, you have to be willing to learn. Come in with an open mind, be willing to learn. Crush any of the stereotypes that you might have. Throw that off to the wayside. Be willing to learn. Don't take things personal if you're kind of babied at first. Let yourself get integrated into the unit, into the hobby. Have an open mind, be willing to learn, because things do change. Example being, maybe a certain weapon was thought to have been used by a specific unit. Information comes around, no, they didn't use it. Be willing to learn, adapt, all that fun stuff. And with that topic, certain things to avoid. Number one, if you have any sort of extremist mindset, just don't bother. Don't bother coming into the hobby. I'm going to be absolutely blunt with that. Just do not bother. Yeah, you could probably find a unit that accepts you that has similar behaviors, but I'm going to tell you right now, they're not really involved with anything public related. They're pretty much outcasts. You're not going to be involved in anything other than that little closed circle group. If you have extremist behavior, keep it out. Just don't bother coming. A poor attitude. If you're not willing to learn, if you can't take command, if you can't help with camp stuff, tearing down, setting stuff up, you're just lazy, just don't bother. You gotta be willing to help out around camp, help your unit out, help each other out, develop friendships, all that sort of stuff. If you can't do any of that, if you're antisocial, this hobby's not going to work well for you. Especially you're hitting public events, you got people asking you questions. If you're throwing a nasty attitude at the public, you're going to get booted out of an event anyway. Have a good attitude, be willing to talk to people, willing to interact with people, answer even the dumb questions. Yes, I know all us reenactors, we hate, oh, is that fire real? And, you get repetitive questions, but just understand people just don't know. Have a positive attitude. And kind of one of the last things I'd like to bring up is social media. If you are just starting out in the hobby, it's not a good idea. Let's say you're doing German World War II reenacting, and all of a sudden you're posting pictures of your uniform up. Some people do not understand the concept of reenacting and that there is a separation between the political views and just a reenactor. Portraying history as a student of history, that someone has to portray that side, etc., etc. People just don't understand. Future employers might not understand, which brings another whole topic of that. If you're going to bring up reenacting at work, make sure you do so in a smart way. Like I said, make sure you separate those political views from what you're really doing. You are just acting out history, you're a student of history, you're teaching history, and you have an interest in history. So I hope this helps you out. I'm dragging us on to 11 minutes. I didn't want to make this too long. Hopefully this gives you enough little pieces here and there, get you started, and go from there. I might make it like a part 2, maybe go more in depth in certain things. If you have any particular questions you'd like answered in regards to getting started in the hobby that wasn't covered in this video, throw them my way. I might make a compilation video. Maybe we'll make like a FAQ or something. I don't know. Again, I've already done it in the past. Maybe we'll do something else with it. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Have a good one. Be safe, everybody.